Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Bohemian Rhapsody. Queen, undeniably one of the most iconic bands of all time. Undeniably legendary. As is frontman Freddie Mercury with that amazing range and arguably the best male voice of all time. And I personally am a huge fan of Queen and of course Freddie Mercury himself. He is quite the bisexual icon, if you will. However, I must confess that my excitement for this film was dampened by the man behind the camera. The fact that Bryan Singer was the director highly put me off of wanting to see this movie. So I was very thankful that I was able to attend a free advanced screening here, so I don't have to worry about supporting Bryan Singer's film financially with all of his unsavory baggage. Which is a shame, because having an LGBTQ director behind the scenes of a biopic really about not only Queen, but LGBTQ famous Freddie Mercury seems like the recipe for a fantastic film. But unfortunately, thanks to people not being so great, it wasn't something to necessarily celebrate in this instance. But pushing all of that nonsense aside, how is Bohemian Rhapsody? Well, as a Queen fan, I had a whole lot of fun with the film, and it's undeniably infectious. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. And the biggest selling point this film has going for it is Rami Malek is absolutely stunning as Freddie Mercury. Prosthetic teeth or not, he is stellar in this role. I mean, one of the best acting performances I've seen in 2018. He completely and totally embodied Freddie Mercury. It was a complete and total physical and spiritual transformation on that screen. Malek as an actor really disappeared, if not for some of the directing choices that brought you back into Rami Malek's performance. But he as an actor just embodied this role, and he was just so good, and really all of our actors. First of all, the casting director gets a special nod because they cast some spot-on actors. The wig people deserve awards, and the costumes. The costume department. Oh, the costumes in this movie are outstanding. And of course, the music. Of course, Queen's legendary music is on full display throughout the film, and I think this movie in particular is at its most successful when we're on stage, when the music is the storyteller, and we get to see Malek just completely letting go and embodying Freddie Mercury and seeing him as the showman that he was. That is when this film is completely captivating. And it definitely leaves you on a high, because it leaves you on that high note of performance aspect. So thanks to that music, thanks to the iconic songs of Queen, and to the wonderful, just spellbinding performance from Malek, it's infectious. This film draws you in off of those two elements alone. I also do think that the script overall is solid. Very rarely did I find myself rolling my eyes at the dialogue. There are a couple moments. But overall, I thought the script itself was just really strong. I just maybe wish it went a little bit deeper, actually. It didn't quite get there. But I think that falls heavily on our director. We'll get around to him in a sec when we get to the negatives. But the film is emotional. It does draw you in. Unfortunately, it plays by a lot of conventions, which again we'll get to in a second. But sometimes the tried and true is tried and true for a reason. And historic, successful biopics about beloved figures play a lot on emotions and drawing you in and making you feel. And I think this film ultimately does that. Now, I also did have quite a few problems when it comes to Bohemian Rhapsody, and a lot of them center around Bryan Singer himself. I've already mentioned the controversy. I've already discussed my problems with Bryan Singer being connected to the project in general. But then it's even more frustrating when you watch the film itself, because we could have gotten many, many other directors that I think would have actually done a better job with the film. First of all, it's very bright. The film is kind of obnoxiously bright, and it's this really weird forward-facing bright, kind of like what I have here. A very forward-facing, flat lighting that's going on. And it's seen in particular in the performances. So while I think they are exhilarating, and they're wonderful actually, the lighting on them is not wonderful. And the lighting through the whole film is not wonderful. The staging in the whole film is not wonderful. And the close-ups, his decision on closing in on faces, on eyes, on these weird shots, really was a disservice. Because you have a shot of Freddie Mercury singing, and we can't even see his mouth. We are literally seeing a stagnant shot of Rami Malek's eyes. And what should have been a completely magical scene kept being interrupted by these really weird, stale, recycled shots. And that eye one really stuck out to me, and we always focused in on the eyes, which was a very, very strange decision. Because Rami Malek, as an actor, his most distinctive feature is his eyes. And so, to do all this work to make him transform into Freddie Mercury, only to focus in on his eyes, which are the feature that most differentiate him from Freddie Mercury, was a very strange, very odd decision. And we did it several times throughout the film. And I think ultimately we were given a pretty surface level film. We weren't able to go deeper. Now I'm going to bring up something that maybe is a personal gripe that I have, but it's the way that Mercury's sexuality was handled. I really was hoping for more nuance, to be frank. I'm really disappointed that they decided to put Mercury in a box like they did here. And I mentioned it in my opening. Freddie Mercury is highly regarded as kind of a bisexual icon. So for the film to block him into gay was actually highly, highly disappointing. And in particular, the way they did it was very alarming, and, I mean, it was biracial right there on the screen. And I was very disappointed that they decided to go that route. Especially with somebody who was just kind of sexual in his nature. His flamboyant performance art was just sexual. It exuded that sexuality. It drew both men and women into him. And he kept it open. It was very much about this, I'm just who I am. I'm a sexual being, and I am who I am. He had several public relationships with women, as well as a pretty public knowledge of being with men. And instead, we're given a story of a closeted gay male here that goes from dating women, pretty much like in the closet, to a moment of being like, I'm gay, yes, I'm gonna like completely change all of these parts of my personal aspects of life. And I really kind of had a problem with that entire depiction of his sexuality. Also, his final relationship in life was a complete and total afterthought. And that was also pretty disappointing. We didn't get to see that develop at all. 0%. And that lack of nuance plagued the film, actually. We didn't go deeper. The entire film is kind of a Cliff Notes version. It's all pretty standard stuff that any Queen fan already knows. Nothing new is revealed in this film. Nothing revolutionary happens. We don't break ground. And in some cases, we're so on the nose that it was kind of like, oh, gosh. The Mike Myers character in this film, I mean, it gave us a chuckle, I guess. And many people found him kind of funny. And there was a funny kind of throwback at the end. But it was very on the nose humor and very self-referential. I just don't think it was quite successful. So ultimately, I was moved. I was stirred by the end of this film. I felt something at the end of this film. But I think that had less to do with the film itself than it did with Queen and Freddie Mercury, the real life versions that crept into the film. I was left wishing that this film was as revolutionary and as groundbreaking, as brave and as bold and as brazen as the subject itself. And instead, we're given a competent, perfectly good standard biopic that goes beat by beat by beat as a very standard, very safe biopic of its kind does. So in saying all of that, I will say on quality of film, I would probably give this a solid matinee film. It is good across the board. It is serviceable, and for Queen fans, I think you're going to enjoy just kind of being in a Queen concert. And Malik's performance alone is worth that matinee pricing, and honestly, his performance is a full price ticket and hopefully is still in consideration come award season. However, given the safety of the film and given the director of the film, I'm going to give this a very strong rental. I think you should check it out, if only for Malik's performance alone. And it's not a bad film by any means. It's just not a brave film. So, that is my review of Bohemian Rhapsody. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Bohemian Rhapsody? And what is your favorite Queen song? Let me know either in the comment section down below or hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!